Hi, I'm Chef Malina, your culinary instructor, and in this video, we're going to be going over some culinary fundamentals. We're going to start out with some knife safety basics on how to hold a knife, parts of a knife, and then we're going to move into working with some of these lovely veggies over here to learn a couple of the basic knife cuts, small dice, large dice, a julienne, and a mince. Then we'll head into setting up your station. As you cook at home, these are some of the basic foundations you'll be using in your kitchen. And we'll also be talking about sanitation tips that you'll be using while you're cooking at home. All right, so before we get started, we want to make sure that we have all of our vegetables clean and rinsed to make sure you're getting off any dirt particles or any pesticides that may have been there. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure our cutting board is not sliding around. So in order to do that, we will take a clean, sanitized towel and we'll go ahead and get it damp, but not soaking wet. You want to squeeze it out really good. Then you want to lay it out and place your cutting board right on top. And then you'll notice it won't swerve around, which will prevent you from most likely cutting yourself. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to place our knife on our cutting board and we're going to focus on our stance. You want to make sure that your feet are apart, shoulder length apart, kind of like you're about to do a squat, just because you want to be stable and not, falling over. The better foundation you have, the more safe you're going to be, the more control you're going to have of your knife, and the less quicker you'll get fatigued from standing in one spot. So you want to balance out your body weight while you're cooking, especially if you're doing this cutting for a long period of time. So we're going to start with our chef knife, which is the main knife you'll be using. Don't be intimidated by it. As long as you're holding it the right way, you will not cut yourself. You will be safe. So I'm going to show you the proper way how to hold it so to prevent you from cutting yourself. What we're going to do is we're going to take the knife and I'm going to show you, first of all, how people hold it the wrong way, where you don't have enough control of the knife. So this is how you don't want to hold it. Instead, you want to place your finger here and your thumb on this side, and you have 3 fingers wrapped around the handle, and that way you have control of your knife. It's like an extension of your arm. All right, so today you'll be learning how to do 3 basic knife cuts you'll be using in the kitchen. A small dice, a medium dice, a julienne, and of course we'll include a mince with our garlic. We'll start out with our tomato here. And before we get into the chef knife, we're going to talk about the paring knife. So one of the best uses for the paring knife is to remove the stem attachment from your vegetable. And now we're going to go ahead and start cutting our medium dice with our tomato. You want to make sure your thumb is out of the way, and you don't have to cut all the way through. You kind of want to stop before you get to the end. Don't go all the way through. And so since this is a medium dice, your slices could be farther apart. If it was a smaller dice, they'd be closer together. The same in this direction. You don't have to go all the way to the end. You just want to kind of keep it together, but close to the end. Notice how my thumb is behind my vegetable. My hand is not in this C position. It's more of a claw position. And it's always like that. And you want to be focused when you're cutting. Then we're going to turn it this way, and we're going to let the knife, the sharpness of the knife, do the work. You don't want to push down too much because then all the juices will come out of the tomato. You'll squish your tomato. And you don't want to saw, you just want to give a nice slice. All right, so if you didn't get what you want, a perfect dice, and there's some pieces still together, you can go ahead and just fix the few in the end. All right, so we're going to put our tomatoes in a bowl, and this is part of our mise en place. We call this the mise, meaning before the tomato was sliced, that was not our mise. After the tomato was sliced, we put it in a bowl, and now we have our portion for whatever it is we're cooking, and that's called our mise. We're going to take our tomato off our cutting board, and we're going to wipe our cutting board clean to get ready for our next cut, which is a small dice of a white large onion. So now that we have a nice clean and organized space, we're going to start cutting our onion in a small dice. So you just want to make sure, again, that you're using the claw. Make sure you're not using the C, is what I call it. This is going to get you sliced. Okay, so you want to make sure you're never using the C. You want to make sure you're using the claw. So your elbow's going to, your wrist is going to be up. Your hands are going to be kind of clawed like a baseball pitcher's grip. Your thumb's going to be behind the onion, not on the side of it where the knife can actually slice it. And so that's going to make your elbow kind of go up. So you're, instead of being in this kind of lazy, relaxed position, you're going to be turning your hand, have your watch face the ceiling, okay? Not the side. Have your watch face the ceiling. So you want to have as little waste of the product as possible. So when you're cutting your onion, you want to slice a little bit, as little off as possible, and you do want that to happen because then it's easier to peel. So let's see if we can get that from the other side. You could keep this side intact if you wanted to, but it's not necessary. You could cut both ends or not. Just cut off as little as possible. And you also want to have a bowl for your waste. You don't want to just throw it on your cutting board. So now we have not a wobbly onion, we have a steady onion, and that makes it easier to cut so it's not all wobbling around. So put it on whatever side is stable and it's not wobbling around. Get your thumbs out of the way. So I notice a lot of people, when they start cutting with a big knife, they cut with the front part of it. You want to kind of cut with the middle part of it. That way you have more balance. Put your knife in there, make sure your fingers are out of the way, and then kind of just push down slowly, letting the knife do its job, and you have two parts of the onion now. Set one part aside. If there is still peeling on your onion, now you can go ahead and peel that layer off. Sometimes it comes off really nicely, sometimes it's a little more of a pain, and go ahead and put your waste in your waste bowl. All right, so now we're going to do a small dice. So you notice that the onion has natural slices, lines on them, so we're just going to go ahead and go with that. You don't have to cut all the way to the end, but now we're using the tip of our knife. And so notice I was holding it like that and I wasn't getting a good grip. So I changed my position. You always have to be aware because your hands are going to want to naturally go another way. So you have to make them go back to the way they're supposed to be. Just always make sure your thumb is safe. All right, and now we're going to turn it this way. And we're going to do small cuts, not large. Not medium. Try to practice doing a small. So we're not mincing the onion, but we're doing a small dice. All right, so we're making sure our cutting board is cleared from our previous onion that we cut. We now have our medium diced tomatoes, our small diced onions, and next we're gonna go into slicing some bell peppers. And I'm gonna go with the red bell pepper because I want a little color in my dish. So there's different ways you can cut a bell pepper and get the seeds out. This is how I do it. So I put it so it's not wobbling around, so I stand it up and I'm going to cut it right down the middle. And I'm going to have my two halves. I'm just going to set this one aside and work with the inside of this one. So what I do is you can grab the whole inside there and just kind of pull it out very carefully, and the whole inside will come out. You'll have some seeds in there, and you can just knock it on the cutting board. Maybe peel some out with your hand. Sometimes you could take a knife and knock it, and those seeds will come out. And if you even wanted to rinse it in the sink, you could, just to make sure you get all those. So you can clean those seeds off of your cutting board. Have your waste bowl right near you. And now we have our clean pepper. If you want, there's some flesh here, you could take it out very easily. All right, so now you could either work with this larger half or you could make it easier and cut this in half as well. So now you have two halves that are easier to work with. Again, your watch is facing the ceiling, your thumb is behind, your fingers are curled, so your knuckles are kind of up, protecting your fingertips from getting sliced. So however you want to do this, we're going to do a thin slice here. I don't want to go too thin, but just thin enough. And you don't want to pick up your knife too high. If you pick up your knife too high, you will take the chance of cutting your knuckles. So when you bring the knife back up, you want to make sure not to bring it too high. And there we have some thicker slices, and then on the next one, we'll do some thinner slices. And practice on thinner slices. So now we have some thinner slices as well. All right, so continuing on, we just finished slicing our red bell peppers, and now we're moving on to garlic, one of my favorite ingredients. So if you notice, this is a garlic bulb, and then in the bulb there are cloves. So usually when a recipe calls for a teaspoon of minced garlic, it depends on the size of the garlic. It could be one nice clove like this, or it could be two. It really depends, because as you see here, while I'm breaking this apart, I'm kind of just twisting it and breaking it apart because it comes out in fragments, and there's a lot of peel on the garlic. So we just want to first get all the cloves separated, and then we want to get as much peel off quickly and then set this aside. Now all the peel isn't going to come off. I'll show you how to do that in just a second, but we just want to remove as much peel as we can just to get that mess out of the way. All right, and then we want to clear our cutting board off as much as possible. All right, so now we can work with our cloves. I like to take the bigger cloves and lay them flat like this. We're going to take our knife, we're going to set it right on top, and we're going to use the palm of our hand right here, and we're going to give it a nice smash. And that smash right there allows the peel to come loose, and then you have your garlic clove without the peel. We'll do one more. Lay it just like that. Make sure the knife's steady on there. Give it a good smack. And then peel comes off very nicely. And let's do one more. Set your knife down, give it a good smack, take the peel off. All right, so now that we have our garlic cloves, what we're gonna do is start mincing. You wanna bring your garlic together on the cutting board, pick up your knife, and I like to call this the fan motion. So what I'm gonna do, I'll do it without the garlic first, is hold my knife down, and I'm gonna go in this motion back and forth, with the garlic, and the garlic's just gonna start breaking down. And if you need to bring the garlic in closer together, use your knife to do that because it's gonna separate. So you just wanna keep on bringing it in. And you'll get better at this, you'll get faster at it. Make sure your thumb is up, because if your thumb is down, there goes your thumb. So you're gonna keep on doing it till it is technically a mince, which is a very small bits and pieces. It's going to stick to your knife, so you want to carefully clean your knife. Don't use the sharp edge to clean your knife, to clean off your finger. Notice I use the back of the knife. All right, so now we have our mince, nice and tiny bits and pieces. Notice I have my hand resting while I'm holding this part of the knife down, and then I'm just moving the rest of the knife to get that mince in, cleaning it, and it's just a repeat of that the entire time. To get it off the cutting board, you're gonna take your knife and you're gonna give it one nice scoop and scrape it in your bowl just like that, very carefully. Okay? All right, so next we have our julienne cut, and we'll be using a carrot to demonstrate that. First, we're going to peel our carrot so it looks pretty. Now we flipped it over and we're peeling the second part. We just kind of turn it as we peel, and you'll get faster at peeling the more you practice. And we'll put our peels in our compost, our waste bowl. All right, so now we have our carrots. We're going to cut off the end of our carrot. Notice my wrist is facing up, my watch is facing the ceiling. I'm in the claw, I have my thumb behind my fingers. My carrot's not wobbling around, it's as steady as it can be, and I'm just gonna cut off a very thin part of the carrot. All right, so I want to work with the wider half of this carrot. The bigger the carrot, the better when you're doing the julienne cut. So we're going to cut this in half. All right, so what you want to do is we want to create something that looks like matchsticks. Technically, it'll be 2 inches long, so you don't have a ruler, you don't need a ruler, you just kind of want to picture it in your head that this right here is about 2 inches. So this is about 1 inch, and so this is about 2 inches. When you get to culinary school, it's going to have to be a little more precise, but now we want to cut this in slices now, very carefully. Not using the tip, but using more of the middle. My watch is up. Let the knife do the work. And just practice there. If you can't get it, the carrots are kind of hard, so just be careful. So what you want is something like this here. All right, so we're going to work with each one individually, and we're just going to try to get uniform. But as you're going through this, just let your goal be working towards perfection. And that's that. All right, so today we went over 3 basic knife cuts, or just a few basic knife cuts. We started off with our tomato in the medium dice, our white onion with a small dice, our red bell peppers with just a slice. We have our carrots that were julienned, and then we have our garlic that was minced. So now it's time for you guys to go ahead and practice in your kitchen.